Hello and welcome to our channel. Before I start to tell you about Disney Infinity, let me first introduce you to the team that was responsible for it, which is the Disney Interactive Studios. The Disney Consumer Products and Interactive Media, also known as Disney Interactive Studios, is Disney's video game distributor. And they are the parent company of Avalanche, and their parent is the Disney Interactive Media Group. So every Disney game is sold under this brand. It was originally called Disney Interactive Studios, but in 2015, Disney merged Disney Consumer Products with Disney Interactive to become Disney Consumer Products and Interactive Media. The concept for Disney Infinity first began to take shapes in the minds of Disney Interactive crew back in 2008. When they first saw the pitch for Toy Story 3, which they were being tasked with making a video game out of. The part that really captivated their imagination was the very beginning of the film, where all of Andy Davis toys are coming to life and having adventures in a Western fantasy world inside of his imagination. The staff decided that that would be not only where they started the game, but where a lot of it would take place. So, they envisioned a game where players would create and customize their own world within this world, and use their imaginations to craft their own creations. This concept manifested itself in the game in the form of Toy Box mode, which we will be telling you about later on. It's a mode in the game separate from the typical story mode where players could create their own creations. It was while the team was creating this game that they came to the realization of why the many characters of Toy Story can coexist in one universe, even though they're all very different. They're all toys playing inside a child's imagination. This would be the foundational concept of Disney Infinity. So, when the Toy Story 3 video game came out, it was a good success with critics and audiences alike, which was welcome news to Disney Interactive, which at the time was a company struggling to sell its games. As a result of the game's success, the company began work on a sequel, the Buzz Lightyear themed game called Star Command.
Stop! In the name of Star Command!
Which would expand on the first game's Toy Box mode. However, it was around that time that John Pleasance joined Disney Interactive as a co-president upon Disney's acquisition of his company, Playdome. Pleasance was the one who suggested to the team at Avalanche that they should consider incorporating other franchises into their games, not just Toy Story. At first, the team was reluctant to do this, as they knew that it would be a difficult concept to sell to the heads of Disney Interactive, due to the unwritten rule that characters from different franchises should not mix in video games. However, as Pleasance pointed out, there are precedents to characters interacting outside of their franchises. For example, at Disney parks. Or as physical toys in a child's playroom. The team soon came to love the idea and added to it the idea of making the game toys to life, meaning that players would play by collecting physical figures of the characters and placing them on a portal to make them appear in the game. The team decided that the best way to make their idea a reality was to pitch it to John Lasseter, which they did in late 2010. At first, John was displeased with the idea of combining many different franchises due to the differentiations of art style that would naturally occur given the different art styles of each of the films that the characters were taken from. However, after about 20 minutes of the team convincing him, he said that if the artist could find an artistic style that would make sense for all of the characters as well as cause them to look like they belonged in the same universe, then their idea might have a shot.
Hi, I'm John Lasseter, Chief Creative Officer of Pixar and the Walt Disney Animation Studio. We all have to kind of develop the characters, the personality of the characters, how they look, how they're going to move, and so on. We developed the world as to what's around every corner. We also developed the story. We worked very closely with Avalanche Studios in developing a number of games, and especially Disney Infinity.
The team had come to the pitch with the concept of having each character in the art style of their original media, the way that the different types of toys, for example, the plush toys and the action figures, interacted in Toy Story. However, Lasseter said that he felt it would be more powerful for them to all have one unifying art style. He also said that whatever the team did, it would have to be wicked awesome. His words. Before a full-scale game was created, John Blackburn came to Chad Little of Avalanche and asked him to create a simple prototype of what the gameplay was to be in the new game.
I'm John Blackburn. I'm the studio GM of Avalanche Software for Disney Interactive Studios in Salt Lake City.
Where does this game fit in with people who will have seen the movie?
So it's a little bit of a sidecar story that goes on that expands a little bit of what happened during two pieces of the film.
The premise of the prototype was simple. Some Disney/Pixar characters, which ended up being Sheriff Woody and Buzz Lightyear, were together on an island, and there was a toy machine in the middle from which players could purchase using crystals as currency, virtual toys that the characters could play with in-game. It was to have no structured gameplay. It was only to be about experimenting with toys and discovering what you could do. The prototype was created using models straight out of Toy Story 3, the video game. When they gave the prototype to some children to test it, it was a huge success. As they played longer, the child testers began to realize that by combining different toys in different ways, they could make them do different things that the toys could otherwise not do. According to John Blackburn, the moment the team saw this was the moment where the team realized they had a real potential success on their hands. Initially, Jeff Bunker, one of the developers who got the initial idea for the game, tried to find people to make the games who came from outside Avalanche Software, like people from Pixar. He said that it was crazy the amount of designers they went to. However, as he later recalled, he found that the best work was coming from inside of Avalanche. The animators at Avalanche experimented with many different art styles, over 100 according to Jeff Bunker, before they found one that worked. Their earliest design involved characters with large heads and small feet. They tried turning the characters into tiny toy versions of themselves, as well as into plush toys. But John Lasseter rejected both of those ideas. At one point, the team played with the idea of characters that would come in 3 pieces: a head, a torso, and feet, held together with magnets that could be swapped around, similar to the format using for Skylanders, Swap Force. However, the idea was scrapped due to the magnetic interference that this would cause with the RFID fields that would cause the characters to work with the Disney Infinity base. The designers found many of these early designs simply too kiddie looking. They were looking for a design that would appeal not only to children, but to players of all ages, so as to make a game that the whole family enjoyed playing. The art style finally began to come together when animator John Diesta started making sketches in a new art style, where the characters resembled their real selves, not only with slightly exaggerated proportions. This was the art style chosen for the new game, as it was determined to be the best aesthetic that would permit the combining of Disney, Pixar, and live-action characters together into one game. The designers of Disney Infinity had never worked with physical toys before, so making the game's figures was a challenge for them. When they first started making figures, the only thing they were concerned with was making a good-looking figure that people would want to collect. Not as much with the in-game models of the characters. However, when they sent these figures to the factory to be made, they found that the figures that were made did not translate well into virtual characters. For this reason, they decided to start with the in-game models of the characters and then make those models into figures. This caused the process to go a lot more smoothly. They found that the limbs of characters were especially difficult to do because when the characters were pulled out of their mold, they were very pliable. Fortunately for the team, when they brought their prototype figures back to John Lasseter, he was thrilled with them. The process for making a figure, which is referred to as infinitizing by the team of Avalanche Software, as outlined by Jeff Bunker, is as follows. First, when the team has a character they want to build, the artists begin to draw various caricatures of the character. When the team feels that they have come to a caricature that features a design that they like, they present this caricature to the filmmaker who was originally behind that character to get their opinion on it. Then they sketch some more until they feel they have come to a design that they all like. When the design is decided upon, the team then decides what pose the character's figure should be in. The team always tries to get a pose that is unique to the figure, one that would not look right on any other character. They try to capture the character in what John Vignacci describes as a state of anticipation, meaning they would want the character to look not as though they're in the middle of an action, but as though they're about to perform an action. The team tries to make the figures look as live as possible. They do a lot of research to choose a pose, watching the movies many times, looking at promotional material, and hearing feedback from the character's creator in order to get the pose that feels most iconic for that character. When a pose has been decided, the team decides on the character's color scheme. The team are very particular with what colors are used on their figures. While most toys use Pantone colors, to decide on colors for their toys, Disney custom chooses each and every color for their characters so as to achieve the exact right color. The team does a black and white sketch and a color sketch for each character before creating an uncolored clay maquette of the character in order to figure out how the character looks in the real world, as opposed to a 2D drawing. Then they make a 3D virtual model of the character, which is once again taken to the filmmaker for approval. The figure is further tweaked based on the filmmaker's preferences and constraints of the size of the box. The only design steps left after this are the creation of the colored prototype model of the physical figure, the one that we later will be collecting, and the design of the character's box. When all of this has been completed, the figure is finally ready for mass production. Altogether, Disney Interactive spent over $100 million on Disney Infinity and its accompanying figures. Then the moment arrived to share it with the world. The game was first announced at the El Capitan Theater in California on January the 15th, 2013, at a large presentation for D23 members and press, where John Pleasance, John Blackburn, and John Lasseter spoke about the game's concept, gameplay, and development, in addition to announcing many of the game's figures. They also showed the game's official reveal trailer at that time. In September of 2013, Disney revealed that the game had sold 294,000 copies in the United States during its first 2 weeks on sale. On October the 18th, 2013, Disney Interactive announced that the game had sold more than 1 million copies worldwide. With more figures not yet released, Disney hopes the number of units sold will continue to grow. As of January the 20th, 2014, 3 million starter packs have been sold. The game was nominated for the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards in 2014, but lost to Just Dance 2014.